Welcome to day 40 of the Savage Cash podcast, here with me, Suppoman. I can't believe I've been doing this for 40 days solid, and I'm glad if you've been watching my videos for the last 20 days, I'm really happy you've been with me, and if you have been watching for more than that, I'm grateful to you. Thank you very much. Now, yesterday after I put out my video on technical analysis, people were going, oh my god, there's a crash, there's a bit of red, what do I do? You know, and it was the time for panic. And that's my favourite time. You know, when I see people panicking, that's my favourite time. Not that I love seeing people upset or distressed or anything. But going back to my favourite quote, which I have quoted a ton of times to you, the Baron Rothschild's quote, he made a ton of money during the Napoleonic Wars by trading when people were killing themselves. The stock market crashed. And basically stockbrokers threw themselves out of windows, killed themselves, there was blood on the streets, there was panic everywhere, and that was the time that he invested, and he made an ton of money. So when I see panic and blood on the streets, I feel the same way. I love seeing red. It's sale day. Now, yesterday Ethereum was doing really well, and it's going down slightly. And if we go back to the what I was doing yesterday, when I was showing you bear markets and bull markets, I told you that there was possibly an M forming, and an M has formed. Look, an M has formed. And what happened? Slightly tanking. So it does work. So all the people that said in technical analysis, oh, it doesn't work on cryptocurrency, it only works in the stock market. You talk crap. It was garbage. It can be traced back. And in fact, looking at past history, that's exactly what it shows. However, I didn't take my money out of Ethereum because I still think Ethereum's going to do really well. And I think this is the beginning of a big W, personally speaking. So, going back to Poloniex, yesterday there were quite a few coins I just wanted to buy. I wanted to get my hands on and get my hands on even more. Digibyte was down. Sia coin was down. A lot of these coins were down. Syscoin was down. And I thought, time to get in there. So, Sia coin. Now, Sia coin, I put a buy order in when Sia coin was at 4.94. I went to sleep, I put a buy order in for 4.90. If it hits 4.90, buy. A ton of them. It was about 10, 15, I can't remember. There was about 5 figures worth of Sia coin. And I went to sleep hoping it would trigger the buy order, because if it didn't, and I thought if it goes up, I'm going to hate myself. But it did trigger it. I was delighted this morning it triggered it. I looked in my portfolio and I thought, bloody hell, look at the money. And essentially it went up to about, where it says here, 590. Okay, and it's still staying in the high 500s, where yesterday it was at 490. Okay, so I got it on the snap. I clearly got it on the snap. Now, how did I know that 490 was my optimal price? Why didn't I wait for it to go down further? Why didn't I buy when it was at the 500s? Let me show you exactly how, okay? And I'm going to go back to Coinigy for this. So I saw in the sale yesterday, Sia coin, I want to get me some of that. I had a look on Coinigy and I did a Fibonacci Retractor, okay? So basically what Fibonacci Retractor is it shows you what the value of the coin would be if the market took a lot of the rises that have happened recently with the coin right back, okay? So, Fibonacci is really good to be able to show a price range, okay? To show low to high and the extreme in the recent times, okay? In recent weeks, okay? So, I use the Fibonacci Retractor. So, let me just show you exactly what I did. So, let me just get that up. Start from the low point, work up to the high point. Now, a rule of thumb in the stock market, okay, which can be applied to cryptocurrency, is that when there is a bull market, when the market rises significantly, what the market tries to do is claim back about 60 to 70% back of the value, all right? So, I use that principle to decide my entry point, because this Fibonacci retraction is used to basically decide the OTE. The OTE stands for optimal trade entry. So that is the optimal entry point for getting into a trade in order to be able to make massive gains, okay, and therefore not significant losses, all right? So let me just show you how it works. So I just did my Fibonacci retractor line. It shows you the value of what the coin would be if the market claimed back these percentages. So at 38.2, it'd be about 575. At 60, it would be about 475. All right. So looking back at that, I decided that anything around about the late 400s would be good. So if I just get the range that is optimal to get back into the market, this is it. Okay. So if you see these lines suddenly go into here, that's optimal. Okay, so what you do is you go to a cryptocurrency, you look at its lowest to highest in recent times, and you look at what the price would be if the market retracted 60% back. Okay, so this is the area that if the price goes back into, that's when you buy. Okay, and let me just show you exactly why. Because if I look at the long-term position, okay, so if I put that right here, okay, so lowest point is down there. Highest point is all the way up here. My risk-reward ratio is 2.13. That means that I am likely to make more than I would lose buying at that price. Okay, so if it's around here, the price point that I identified as being the ideal price point to buy Sia coin, then if it went down dramatically to its lowest point, I'd lose maybe $1 per trade. Well, I'd make $2 if it went up to its highest. Okay, so the risk-reward ratio is what you look at to determine, am I going to make big losses if everything goes bad, and am I going to make big gains if it goes really well? So I thought, right, I'm going to get it at this price. So I decided before I went to bed to put a buy order in, and that is what triggered me to get at this price. It was using this Fibonacci retraction, okay, and looking at the OTE. Okay, so now let's remove that, because what's happened since on Poloniex is that, I mean, when I woke up, I saw that Sia coin had already gone down in value from its highest point, which was 590. It'd gone down in value, and it was wavering in between 550 and 570. Okay, it's slightly gone above 570, but it's been wavering for the past 3 hours around that mark. Okay, so you don't know if it's going to go up further or if it's going to go down. Okay, we're looking at the long-term position. All right, so what you can do is you can use Coinigy to see what the likely scenario is. Okay, so let me just go back to Coinigy. So if we just remove all of this stuff out of the way, and let's concentrate on what's been happening in the last few hours. Okay, so you can see here it's gone anywhere from kind of 550 to 570, maybe just nearly 580 in the last few hours. Okay, so what we can do here is we can draw a couple of lines, okay, to basically analyze what we're going to do next. So if we just get this trend line thingy here, then we can draw a line at the bottom of where the price has been and a line at the top of where the price has been. Okay, so what you've got here is a scenario where it's buyer versus seller. Okay, so we've had a nice price hike of the Sia coin, and then it's gone down slightly, and then around this period here, it has slightly stabilized. And the reason why is because there's buyer support. So basically, this line signifies support. This line signifies resistance. Okay, so the support is buyer support. So buyers are investing and trying to bring the value up. Sellers, particularly people who have, been quite happy with the gains they've made, or newbies, they're trying to sell. So what you've got here is a range of buy activity and sell activity, and they're tussling. And this is what they've been doing. They've been tussling. Okay, so we've got the buyer support trying, buyers bring it back up, sellers try to bring it down, buyers back up, sellers down. You get the picture. Now, what it looks like is starting to happen, because I would say that line was around about here about an hour ago, and now it's starting to break through. So what happens as a result of this point? This normally determines whether you get out or whether you keep your money in. All right, so if I just get the drawing tool, okay, so you've got, let me just color that in. So you have got two sides battling each other, okay? It could either go this way. So if the buyer breaks the resistance barrier, so if this goes up even more, it's going to break the resistance barrier, which means the buyers win. Okay, and what that means is that the price goes up. So this is what's called a breakout. Okay, so if the buyer wins, if it breaks through the support and the price goes up, that's what's called a breakout. If the seller wins, it's called a breakdown. Okay, and that normally leads to a cryptocurrency falling in value. Okay, so it all depends really on what happens now in the tussle. Okay, who's going to win? And I think Suppoman seems to be breaking through. Okay, so Suppoman is now 576, so it's trying to break through. It was around the 550, 565 mark, and now it's breaking through into the late 70s, maybe will go higher. Okay, which the long-term position basically hinges on this. Does it go up more and more and more, or does the market try and claim back some of what was gained in the bull momentum of Suppoman? All right, and that is what we need to watch out for over the next, few hours, to see if Suppoman, if you've invested in Suppoman, if this is going to realize its potential. Now, you can do the exact same analysis I've just done on any coin. Okay, Coinigy is a free tool, okay, for 30 days or so, and then after that, it's $15 a time. So you can use the tool to essentially determine what you do next, okay, with any trade. So my particular instance is Suppoman. Now, if you purchased, Digibyte, if you purchased Syscoin, if you purchased POT, if you purchased Next, if you purchase these, you can use essentially the same methodologies I've just used to see where the momentum's going. All right. So what happens next is determined by which side wins. Okay, does the buyer wins? I hope the buyer does win. I hope that it does continue to break through, because I bought a load and I don't want to sell it, even though I've made some good gains since last night's buy. I don't want to sell it because I think personally, long-term picture of Suppoman, I think that this could go very, very far. Okay, if we have a look at its total, look where it was, 4141. Okay, now is all the way down here. Now, this was back in June 2014. Okay, ages ago. It's taken ages to come back. It's been basically nowhere for the past, kind of 10 months. And now it's suddenly rising. This is where it was. I think Suppoman has tremendous potential in the long term. Okay, so we could be seeing the birth of the bull market for Suppoman, particularly as there's a lot of interest, particularly because it's a good coin. And look at it, 579 now. It's getting ever closer to its highest point. So I think that the buyers are winning. So if you had put a buy order last night on Suppoman, I'm proud of you. You did well. All right. So this was another tutorial on technical analysis. Okay, and I hope you've learned quite a bit about the Fibonacci retraction, and also buyer support, seller resistance, breakouts, and breakdowns. All this stuff can be used on any coin to be able to determine where it's going next. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you in the next podcast episode.